which always falls on November 11th, is a day to honor veterans, few realize the historical significance behind the day. Veterans Day originated as Armistice Day and marked the end of hostilities of World War I that occurred at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month. Therefore, the day is always recognized on November 11th, regardless of the day of the week it falls on. In 1919, President Wilson commemorated the first Armistice Day with these words: "To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing from which it has freed us and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with peace and justice in the councils of our nation." The day was originally set aside to honor the veterans of World War I with a day of parades and remembrances, as well as applause and activities at 11 a.m. on the day. In 1938, it was made a legal federal holiday for all. However, after World War II and the Korean War, Congress recognized the need to expand the meaning of the day to recognize all our veterans and not just those of World War I. In 1954, the word armistice was replaced with veterans as a day to formally include all veterans of all American wars and the Day of Remembrance. Today, Veterans Day is a federal holiday which many cities celebrate with parades and ceremonies. In Washington, D.C., there are ceremonies throughout the city, including a wreath laying at Arlington National Cemetery. Veterans Day is a day not only to remember those who died in service to our country, but also to recognize those who continue to serve today. At this time, would you please stand as our veterans, our honored guests, join us. You may be seated. We'd like to honor each branch of the military by presenting its flag and anthem. Veterans, please stand when your branch is recognized. Now it is my pleasure to introduce one of Dixie's own, who served for 22 years in the Coast Guard. Chief Warrant Officer Peggy Kennedy will share a reading entitled, "Sometimes I Forget."
When I dress in the morning, I try to remember that I wear the uniform of the military that protects the greatest symbol of democracy and freedom in the world. But sometimes I forget. I also try to remember the people who dress as I do every morning, the ones who have dressed this way so many days before me, and those who will follow me. But sometimes I forget. I try to keep in mind just one of the fallen heroes who wore the same uniform. The one who lost his or her life in it, and the one who still wears it as he or she lies in a final resting place in a national cemetery. But sometimes I forget. Every morning when I go to work, I try to say good things about my coworkers. I try to remember these people protect my freedom as I work beside them each day. I try to remember that my job is the greatest one. I try to remember that although this uniform may be a little too warm in the summer and just not warm enough in the winter, thousands of my comrades remain missing in action, and others are in prisons for years of foreign soil, suffering, torture, and abuse unconceivably to our humanity. All this while wearing this uniform. During the day when I think of the others I would rather be doing, I try to remember the role I take place while I'm wearing this uniform, and try to remember this world is still a dangerous place, and we must work extremely hard to safeguard the freedoms that we take so much for granted, so that our children will know the freedom we have always known. I try to remember that I pledge allegiance to go forward. It's all inspiring symbol of freedom and democracy that others entrust my comrades in need with their safe people. But sometimes I forget. At bedtime I kneel down and try to remember the hundreds of thousands of families who have lost their loved ones into this great war. I try to remember that I would die for this country that I would much rather live away. Yet at times like this, when I remember to take these things into account, there's no way I can explain the pride I feel and why my grace was in this country. And when I leave this world, I hear whatever words known to me since childhood. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today, I do not forget.
You will notice in your program that we plan to recognize Home Depot and manager Janet Eilerman for their contributions to veterans in our community. Unfortunately, Janet was not able to join us this morning, but if you want more information about Home Depot's resources for local veterans, please refer to the website listed in the appreciation section of your program. One other note about our program, although she isn't listed, we'd like to thank Sherry Edmondson for organizing and assisting in this next presentation. We appreciate your time and contribution. At this time, it is an honor to introduce our next serviceman and Kenton County employee, Major Ed Cook of the U.S. Army National Guard.
Gentlemen, veterans, students at Dixie Heights High School, while we are honored to have so many of you present today, we would be remiss if we did not pause to remember those who cannot be with us that were former students of Dixie Heights High School.
At this time, please help us honor and remember former Dixie students who paid the ultimate sacrifice. World War II, Ralph Duffy, killed in action December 22nd, 1942. George Wilson, killed in action April 18th, 1945. In Vietnam, Thomas LaChavia, killed in action May 31st, 1968. Ron Neuwanger, December 13th, 1969. Carl Mueller, killed in action February 13th, 1967. Steve Tanner, killed in action February 19th, 1969. Clifford Newberry, killed in action January 25th, 1969. Gary Litton, killed in action March 5th, 1968. In the Afghanistan, Sergeant Daniel Tyler Lee, 28 years of age, from Fort Wright, Kentucky, killed while on a mission serving in Part 1 Province, Afghanistan, Wednesday, January 15th, 2014. He is a son of Daniel Patrick and Frances Fran Lee, wife Susan Schulte Lee, who is also in the military, and a 6-month-old son, Daniel Roderick The Rock Lee. Thank you.
We observe Veterans Day on an anniversary, not the anniversary of a great battle or the beginning of a war, but the anniversary of the day 97 years ago when guns went silent across Europe and World War I ended and our nation was once again at peace. Ever since that armistice on the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour, 1918, this has been the day to remember our debt to all who have worn the uniform of the United States of America. Since then, nations commemorate that moment with a moment of silence. The silence punctuates the air and focuses everyone's attention to the service of our veterans across the country and in locations around the world. And those veterans encompass many different kinds of people who serve our country in many diverse ways. They represent the best of America. This day marks the day when nations around the world pause in a moment of silence with solemn pride in remembrance of the heroism of those who have served, those who are currently serving, and those who died in our country's service. We don't mark this day each year as a celebration of victory, but rather as a celebration of those who made victory possible. It's a day during which we keep in our minds the brave men and women of this young nation, generations of them, who above all else believed in and fought for a set of ideals, live through our remembrance. As many veterans, millions of veterans before me, and generations of veterans after me, we all took the same oath. The oath I took was I, Edwin Samuel Cook IV, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to the regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Our veterans have borne the cost of America's wars and have stood watch over America's peace. And today, every veteran can be certain the nation they served and the people they defended are grateful. From those soldiers who have stood guard in peacetime to those who have seen the terrors and inhumanity of combat, and those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, our soldiers have been there for America. Veterans Day honors those who have served in all the services: soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen, those who joined, those who were drafted, those who became career soldiers, those who served in the front lines, the supply lines, and those guarding the shores back home. And yes, those serving in peacetime, protecting the mighty force of deterrence. On this day, we pay tribute to millions of American veterans who throughout our great history have placed their lives on the line for liberty. Their country called and they answered. A simple patriotic response, emulating what those before them did for the good of the nation. With that, when we see veterans, even a small amount of recognition can go a long way. I hope that most of you think about the importance of our nation's military and its veterans more than just one day each November. But even this one day of reflection means a great deal to those who have worn and are wearing the uniform. No matter the era of war or peace, we have all received a generous gift from our veterans. We live this gift every day, enjoying the freedom and independence that many nations even now don't know or have only recently discovered. So actually today, not only remember and give thanks for our veterans' sacrifices, but also remember just what it is that we have been given: freedom and democracy. To end this, we must commit ourselves to the principles of which this country was founded. In a very real sense, this may be the finest tribute we could ever pay to those who have sacrificed so much in defense of these principles. We are an indebted nation. What we owe, we can never repay. And these gracious men and women ask no remittance. Their only request is that we honor their sacrifices and remember the noble spirit with which they gave. At this time, if any of you have a friend, family member, loved one who has served or is currently serving in the military, please stand. Thanks to veterans, we are all connected. Thank you. As you're here in the gymnasium where we've been sitting there throughout this program, you may notice this round table set for one in a place of honor, symbolizing both the price of freedom and the frailty of the prisoner alone against his oppressors. This military cast is filled with symbolism. This table is our way of acknowledging and symbolizing the fact that members of our proud military are missing from our midst and unable to be with us today. It symbolizes those killed or missing in action. They are commonly referred to as KIA or MIA. However, we call them comrades. We call them brothers and sisters. They are unable to be with us today, so we remember them because of their sacrifices. The fate of one of our own, be it a Marine, a soldier, a sailor, an airman, or a Coast Guardsman, missing or alone against his oppressors, and the singular life given in defense of our nation. We remember them because of their sacrifice and incarceration. The white tablecloth symbolizes the purity of their motives and intentions to respond to their country's call to arms when answering the call of duty. The black tablecloth symbolizes the darkness and mourning we felt as our brothers and sisters fell in battle. The War of Independence was fought from 1776 to 1782 by a volunteer force assembled from the original 13 colonies. These brave soldiers brought us our independence from Great Britain. The rifle symbolizes that it was recovered from the hands of one of the first to die for our freedom in a field near Concord, Massachusetts. Following the first armed conflict between the militia and British troops, thousands never came home. World Wars I and II were the most devastating in human history. Millions of lives were lost in defense of the world's freedom. This chair represents the thousands of mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, and nephews who waited at home for over 292,000 Americans who would never return. The chair is empty, for they are not here. The chair is empty, for they will not be joining us here today. Communism from the north brought war to the Korean Peninsula in 1950. The United States lost 23,300 to gain armistice in July of 1953. The rose represents the hopes and dreams of peace for each soldier who made the ultimate sacrifice for the people of South Korea. 57,685 casualties came with the ceasefire following 10 long years of direct U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. A slice of lemon on the bread plate is to remind us of the bitter fate of those captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by those missing and their families who seek answers as they learn of their loved one's death. The Bible represents the strength gained through faith to sustain those lost from our country, founded as one nation under God. The wine glass placed inverted or upside down represents their inability to share in this occasion, and all of life's hopes and dreams never realized by those who were lost. The single rose displayed in the vase reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith, awaiting the return of those who are prisoners of war or missing in action. The ribbon tied so promptly on the vase is reminiscent of the ribbons worn upon the lapels and breasts and the hopes and prayers of the thousands of families and friends who waited for the safe return of their loved ones and who bear witness with their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of our missing. From operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm to over 500,000 U.S. service personnel, the hopes and prayers for 246 went unanswered. And during the ongoing operations Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom, our brothers and sisters continue to make the ultimate sacrifice while securing freedom for us and our allies, with 4,970 soldiers having already made that ultimate sacrifice. Yet we continue to lose soldiers 5 times that rate to suicide, with the peak beginning at 22 soldiers per day to PTSD. Remember all of you who served with them and called them comrades, who depended upon their might and aid and relied upon them, for surely they have not forsaken you. It is my hope today that with pride and honor, they will hear us in our prayers as we honor their ultimate sacrifice to their country's call to arms. For years, our colors have represented a nation dedicated to liberty and freedom. They have been carried to many lands and inspired acts of valor that often demanded the ultimate sacrifice. Those who have come before us and have paid for our right to carry on in their stead. For wars are not won, freedom ensured by the living alone. We offer this toast in honor of those who have defended and are no longer with us. Light the candle this afternoon is my daughter, Junior, Hannah Cook, along with the man that inspired me to join the military as his father did, who inspired me to become a teacher, inspired me to become a coach, is Lieutenant Colonel retired, Edwin Cook. The lighting of this candle serves to remind us of the ultimate sacrifice our fallen comrades and their families have made to preserve the precious freedom we all cherish today. As a small tribute, I ask that we please stand. Take a moment of silence as an expression of our gratitude to those who sacrificed for us. My best wishes to you all, the veterans and families of veterans in attendance today, for a meaningful and memorable tribute to Veterans Day. May God continue to bless you and bless America.
You may be seated. I would like to share a final thought with you. We have one day each year that we set aside to honor our veterans. But please know that for what they have given us, they deserve more than that. When you see a veteran in the community, please take time to thank them for what they have done for us. At this time, I would like to thank each of our veterans as they have made the world a better place. Let's give them one final round of applause. Made today's event special, especially our behind-the-scenes organizers, LaFawn Benton and Gary Lynn. At this time, please join me in standing as our veterans